Sponsored by Surfshark. When it comes to fun phones from Microsoft, everyone always thinks of this. Windows Phone, the beloved but doomed platform launched in 2010 to do battle with the iPhone and Android. But there was a whole decade of devices that predated those phones. A parade of pocket-sized Windows machines of every color and shape. And this one was by far the weirdest.
The year is 2005, and this is the Windows Mobile-powered Motorola i930. Let's have some fun.
Yes, that's Windows Mobile, specifically the smartphone edition. See, back in the mid-aughts, the accepted approach for putting processing power in the pockets of the prosumer was for companies like Microsoft to build lighter-weight versions of their desktop operating systems, optimized for the more modest mobile hardware of the time. And Windows Mobile came in two flavors. The Pocket PC edition, first released at the turn of the century, usually ran on hardware similar to a Palm Pilot. A big resistive touchscreen in a similarly big casing, manipulated by a finicky stylus. Many thanks to Charles Goen for donating the bulk of these. I actually completely forgot that I have this HTC Universal in the archives, and I'm so taken with it that I might shortlist it for the next episode of this series if I can find one with a QWERTY instead of a Quartz keyboard. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd want to see. Anyway, in the early aughts, a Pocket PC was way too much phone for most folks. So in 2003, Microsoft added Windows Mobile Smartphone Edition to the mix. It was built on the same core that had powered handheld PCs as far back as the mid-90s, but the feature set and interface were simplified to run on the smaller screens most Americans were buying at the time. And that brings us to this monster Motorola. I've previewed this phone in prior videos, most notably in the Nextel episode of this series, where I documented the dramatic rise and fall of that niche network. Motorola had a near monopoly on manufacturing handsets for Nextel, and it would never award a model number higher than i930. That lofty designation was accompanied by a high price, $499, or the equivalent of $828 in 2026. Back in 2005, most people were buying even high-end phones for below $300 MSRP, or about half that on contract. So this was a very expensive device.
When I have to take everything with me, this has what it takes. Hell yeah, it does. Well, we'll see.
What you got for that cash splash was a one-of-a-kind communicator, accompanied by a cavalcade of accessories bundled within its boldly branded box. Alongside a removable 880 mAh battery was a charger that could be used with any of Nextel's Falcon series phones, a data cable and desktop cradle, the requisite PC software, and the boondoggle keychain of mobile phones in 2005, a must-have for the season's fashion, an official Motorola belt clip. Back to the phone. God, look at this thing. There's never been anything quite like the i930.
I love classic 23rd century design, black finish, silver highlights. Sorry.
Sure, the design is reminiscent of the earlier i860, right down to that spring-loaded push-to-flip button, but it's been beefed up by a bunch to squeeze in its smartphone capabilities. There's a full-size SD card slot, along with an IR port for data transfer, and very rare for the time, the inclusion of two complete radio sets, one for Nextel's domestic IDEN network and a tri-band GSM stack for the international roaming the target globe-trotting customer was likely to be doing. Oh, and dual batteries, which in this case is not a plus. Time to break out the i930 service manual and my iFixit toolset for a routine vintage phone outpatient procedure. I used to think VPNs were only for people doing shady stuff online. Until I started spending over 100 days a year on the road. This video is sponsored by Surfshark, which I use to keep my browsing between me and the site I'm visiting. Why does that matter? Well, it lets me keep watching my favorite shows even when I'm out of the country. It lets me shop in the currencies I'm used to, bank the same way I always do, and for the same selection of content I'm used to seeing. And when I travel to countries that restrict access to certain sites, like the ones I need to do my job, Surfshark keeps me in business. In short, it's a tunnel to the internet I need that follows me wherever my travels take me. Secure your privacy with Surfshark and get an extra 4 months at the link in the description. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Why the smartphone surgery? Well, at the time, a lot of mobile computing platforms stored some user data in volatile memory, meaning it always needed power of some kind, even if you drained the main battery. On the i930, that power came from a tiny coin cell. I mean, like about as big as the biggest pimple you've ever had. In this case, that cell is drained beyond recovery, and of course, it's also long out of production. This is giving me nightmare flashbacks to my AOL mobile communicator video. Fortunately, that's nothing that $10 on DigiKey can't fix. But unfortunately, the replacement battery came with some added accoutrements that need to be inelegantly excised.
Okay. I've dented the battery and damaged my desk pad, but those stupid little connectors are gone.
I pop the cell back into its slot, reassemble the phone as carefully as I can, and hello, Moto.
That is promising.
And there seems to be no permanent damage, other than me busting off the embrittled protective cover on the 2.5mm earphone jack. Acceptable losses, I think. Windows Mobile for smartphone. This OS had its problems, but I really enjoyed my time with it back in the mid-noughties. While the Pocket PC edition was more powerful, I always found it over-engineered for my needs. Its complicated interface too successful at replicating a Windows desktop experience I just didn't want in my palm. The smartphone edition was more sensibly confined, relying on buttons instead of touchscreens, which made it perfect for the T9 keypad, D-pad, and soft key combo of the 930. It ran well on the phone's 200 MHz Texas Instruments OMAP processor, and its home screen design was a great early example of the glanceable simplicity you want from a smartphone. Your recent apps are up top, network status, date and time below that, then your last call, your next calendar appointment, and your messages. And anchoring it all is a start button at the lower left, something familiar to anyone who'd used a PC since 1995. But you didn't buy an i930 to stick to the rudimentary reality of life on a flip phone. So let's bust out my college-era HP laptop, cross our fingers that it'll boot. Yep, and spin up its optical drive to see what this CD has in store.
Oh, what was in here? Oh! So I guess the last time I used this machine was for my Palms intro video. You should go back and rewatch that. Was that 5 years ago? Jeez. Right. Oh. Getting started with Windows Mobile. That's what we're doing here. Listen to these tunes. Loving it.
God, I miss the days of symphonic setup music. This is Microsoft ActiveSync, because while you could synchronize data over the mobile network using this big antenna, well, I'll reference Julian Suwandi, writing for Mobile Tech Review at the time. Apparently, it took 40 minutes to download 956 emails, totaling about 15 megabytes. The better move was to come home, dock your phone in the included cradle, and your PC would synchronize those emails, along with your calendar, contacts, and task list, the good old-fashioned wired way. Such synchronization would also let you access the phone's file system, which you could also do on the device itself. And this is a huge part of what made Windows Mobile so amazing to me. In the days before my Windows PC was connected to the internet, I would spend time just sort of digging around inside it and figuring out what made it work. And Windows Mobile was just as open. every asset of the OS was exposed, like the wallpapers, and graphic assets for system events, like the coin cell failure GIF that we saw before, and Windows system sounds, too. If you haven't noticed, I'm actually working with two separate i930 units for this video, one of which is a used version I bought for the Nextel episode. And inside that one, we find the perennial gold mine of PCs of a certain age, the temporary Internet Files folder, a stockpile of locally downloaded assets that gives us a glimpse into the mobile websites of the time. Whoever owned this one was fond of a site called 007 Radio, an angry lady, a logo, a tiny man, a bunch of log files, a tiny stormtrooper, maybe related to the Windows Media Player website offering trailers for a new Star Wars series called Clone Wars, and a fourth Indiana Jones film that I'm sure will do well. Oh, and so many side-loaded ringtones. Yes, we could browse the web on mobile phones in the time before the iPhone, and check our email, and download media, too. It took me a second to find an SD card in my collection small enough for the i930 to recognize. It seems to top out at 2 gigs. But that was plenty to press the phone into service as an iPod of sorts. At the time, the MP3 player I owned offered a meager 256 megabytes of storage. Our phones could even run third-party applications, as long as you had a phone that wasn't this one. See, for all its advanced attributes, the i930 would never truly live up to the potential promised by its elaborate OS because it was application-locked. Which means that only apps certified by Nextel or Microsoft's Mobile-to-Market program would run on it. Any app not so blessed would fail to launch. Just imagine if your smartphone came with no app store and no ability to load one. You'd be pretty pissed. And i930 buyers absolutely were. Being confined to Pocket Excel and Solitaire infuriated the power users who felt their expensive new phone was being arbitrarily hobbled. There was a call-in campaign, an online petition, and eventually, of course, a homebrew software solution to hack the phone to remove those restrictions. I spent a lot of time in old forums and inside the Wayback Machine to find a working build of that unlocking software, and even got a hold of the original developer to try activating it. Sadly, he told me the software used to generate keys for that program is long gone. But even if I could get it working, I doubt it would help. The used i930 I have seems to have been decertified, and even it won't run anything I try to load onto its 27 megabytes of user-accessible storage. Java apps, Windows Mobile programs, it simply refuses to launch anything that wasn't already on board. I've lost count of the number of app repositories and archives I've plumbed, worn the contacts half off my SD cards with the constant swaps, even downloaded an ancient Motorola software suite for pushing Java apps to Nextel phones. But no Doom, no SimCity, no joy in Mudville. When phones were frustrating.
Well, that's my problem. I didn't get Vinny Cuz's WebGel patcher. That's the ticket.
Best I can do for you is to showcase the IR port that lets you beam an image to any IR-equipped phone or computer, and then, well, maybe I'll steal a page from LGR's book and SD sideload a song that's suitable for this world-class speakerphone. And you know, even that immense unlocking effort would prove to have a payoff that was pretty short-lived. While the i930 was the most advanced phone on Nextel, that brand was already at the beginning stages of an inevitable obsolescence, and the company that bought it, Sprint, offered far more compelling smartphones on a far faster network. The 930 also debuted over a year past its intended launch window, meaning it lacked the Bluetooth, Direct Talk, and 1.3 megapixel camera offered by the i870 that came out around the same time. The 930 didn't have Wi-Fi either, which I wanted to address with an SD adapter, pretty common in the PDA world at the time, but that was impossible on the 930 too, since it lacked the SDIO plumbing necessary to support that. So like I say, an odd duck from an odd time. in an industry poised on the precipice of disruption. There never was a sequel to the i930, just an even more corporate cameraless version called the i920. Americans would move on to more capable devices powered by the newer Windows Mobile 5, alongside handhelds from Palm and, of course, BlackBerry, surging so spectacularly in popularity at the time that it spawned a bevy of copycats, before iOS and Android changed everything forever. I won't miss the terrible data speeds, Windows wonkiness, or atrocious battery life of the i930, but I'll always appreciate the days when status lights flashed, speakerphones blared with coast-to-coast walkie-talkie calls, and phones were fun. If you enjoyed this episode, I've got dozens more like it. Turn the clock even further back to that AIM pocket pager I mentioned, or learn about the granddaddy of all your phone's favorite features with my retrospective on the Palm Pre. And no matter how old the tech, manufacturers have no editorial input into Mr. Mobile's content, so Motorola had no hand in the production of this video. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and you can follow me on Threads at Captain2Phones for my thoughts between the videos. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, thanks for watching. And stay mobile, my friends.